Welcome to Power Boat Talk, the podcast where we talk everything performance boats with your host, Joe Road.
Hello, welcome to Power Boat Talk. This episode is brought to you by SoCal Jet Boats with owners Brad and Brittany Martin. I had the pleasure of having Brad on episode 28 of Power Boat Talk, so go check that out. SoCal Jet Boats was one of the original online forums and is still a great resource for all kinds of performance boat info. SoCal Jet Boats also has an online store that has a fantastic selection of hot boat apparel and a full line of jet pump parts and accessories. SoCal Jet Boats is also a great supporter of boat racing out here on the West Coast, and you can find them at most ADBA and NJBA drag boat races. You can also find them on one of the stops on their California River Summer Tour, which is going on now. Follow SoCal Jet Boats on Instagram and Facebook, or go to socaljetboats.com for more information. Hello, welcome to Power Boat Talk. Today I am with Ron Gordon, who is the general manager of American Turbine Jet Drives. Ronnie's been in the jet pump industry for a long time. So he's here with me today and talk about all things jet pump. So thanks, Ronnie. Thanks for joining me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, glad we connected. Ronnie and I have known each other for a long time, and I just connected with him recently to get him on. He's been cordial enough to come on and talk. So we're talking a little bit the other day, and you got some cool stuff going on with jet pumps. I mean, you're really kind of one of the only jet pump manufacturers left in the world, and you guys, you cut a pretty cool deal with Inmar Marine, who supplies engines to most of the tournament boat company, a lot of companies. So
yeah, a lot of them.
How's that going?
Oh, it's going really good. Yeah, they've come out with a little 2.3 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder called the EcoBoost, and we made it to a jet drive that we private label build for them, and it makes more power than a 350 or a 5.7, and weighs 200 pounds less, and gets where 350 would burn, say, 8.5 gallons an hour at cruise. The little EcoBoost does it at 6 gallons an hour, which is remarkable for any kind of boat. Nevertheless, even a jet boat, but for any kind of boat to get that kind of fuel burn at 30 miles an hour is almost unheard of.
And that EcoBoost, that's a Ford motor, right?
That's correct. Yep. That's Inmar.
Gotcha. And then what kind of which pump are you mating this to?
So we build a SD 312, which is a pressure pump, which is just like a bigger Dominator, a bigger American Turbine. And then about 12, 14 years ago, we converted it to an axial flow, which is axial flow is like a propeller in a tube, also known as a volume pump. So we converted the 312 into an axial flow pump called the SD203, and which really works really well with lower horsepower and bigger boats, which seems odd, but with the bigger boats you need to move a big mass of water. Even though you do it slower, it works better than pressure pumps. Yeah. So, and at the same time, Inmar was developing their little EcoBoost. They had tried several different models of our jet, and the SD203 axial flow was the one that worked out the best. And so their designers come up with a plan, and we build all the pumping function, part of the pump for them.
Oh, cool. And that's an axial flow. I mean, that's kind of like your SD, the 203. It's similar. I don't know if you want to say similar, but it's the same type of pump as like a Hamilton, right?
That's correct. Yeah, or Hamilton or the old Jacuzzi YJ. Same thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What kind of boats are they using those in? Do you know?
So they're using them in like boats that run shallow water, rivers, particularly, and all kinds of boats, but they even did some work with some pontoon boats, and the engineer that was working with them went on to other things, and so that kind of got stalled out. So, but they're still working. They're still working with it. So,
and I would imagine, cost comparatively to stern drives and outboards, jet's still like a far more economic option, I would think, right?
I don't know what outboards and stern drives cost nowadays, but we've always been, a better choice money wise than an outboard or a stern drive. I don't think they're building hardly any stern drive boats anymore.
Yeah,
it's mostly outboards.
Yeah, especially the bigger, higher horsepower
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then why? So that's also the pump that they use in the whitewater boats, right?
The ones we use in whitewater are the pressure pumps. That's the typical, the Dominator, the American Turbine, the old Berkeleys and stuff like that. Yeah, we pretty much. There's just not any pressure pumps. I mean, axial flow pumps used in whitewater endurance racing at all. Even the Hamilton, their 212 pump is not rated for more than 350 horsepower. So, and I mean, our pumps will take 1,800, 2,000 horsepower. The gas turbine boats, will make about 2,000 horsepower.
Okay.
So,
All right. I had it in my head. Did they used to be? Was that used to be the pump of choice in those boats, or
not
no?
Not in marathon boats. I mean, there used to be some slower classes, some under 50 mile an hour classes that would use the volume pump, but anything in the faster classes always have used the pressure pump. Even back in the 80s, they used they used Dominators and stuff like that in those boats.
Gotcha. And your stuff with a 2,000 plus horsepower turbine motor, I mean, a good AQ shaft, stainless pump, that stuff lives in that kind of horsepower?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. They hold up really well. In fact, those boats, I don't think they want it to be known, but those boats will run in excess of 160 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think you and I talked about it a little bit. I gotta learn about a little bit more about that. I've seen some of those boats on Instagram and stuff with the front wings, and man, they look crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
they're pretty efficient boats. They're a lot more efficient than fiberglass boats. And I don't think it's not because they're lighter. I don't know exactly why, but you take a 21 footer with a LS like a 525, a CT 525. That's about 112 mile an hour boat with two people on board.
Wow.
That's 376 cubic inches.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Even they have a lower class, the FX class, which is a 350 cubic inch boat, and those boats are running low 90s. With a 350, like a ZZ4 or ZZ5. So they're pretty efficient, Although I will say the wing is worth about 10 miles an hour.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. It's pretty cool what that does.
Yeah, that's cool. I when I talked to you the other day, I think you gave me some names. I got to look into some of that stuff because it's really cool, and I want to find out more about it. So
yeah, lots of YouTube stuff on there. Yeah.
Man, how long have you been American Turbine now?
So we started American Turbine in 1989, and before that we started Dominator in 1976. And my real introduction to jet drives was in 1968 when my dad bought the first jet boat in our town, our area, which was a Glastron with a 350 and a Berkeley. And also changed out my first impeller in 1968. So I've been wrenching on jets for a while.
Yeah. Tell me more. You told me once before about that in '68. Was it a Glastron? I think you told me.
Yeah. V174. Yeah, it was pretty much the fastest thing on the lake. You know, back then they had the GW Invaders with the 125, and you know they thought they were bad, but they couldn't catch that Glastron. You know.
Yeah. Why do you think your dad bought a jet pump back then? Because it was probably very, very new.
Oh yeah, it's the only one probably the only one within 300-400 miles. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I don't know why.
Yeah, but that's how you get
It's
your
the
toes
first.
wet,
It
right?
was the first boat he ever owned. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
go
Mm-hmm.
figure.
Right. And then that's where you started messing with them, right? Didn't you do some
Yeah,
mods to that? And yeah.
yeah. Well, we never did mod that one because that was Dad's boat. He didn't mess with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was like in '76 when we started Dominator that obviously started, you know, doing all that kind of work, modding
Mm-hmm.
them and all that kind of stuff. So,
Mm-hmm. How did Dominator come to happen?
I had a friend whose dad was in the deep well turbine business, and we had met at the lake, my friend, and wanted to ski behind a jet because he had never skied behind a jet before, and that's, you know, we pulled him around and broke 2 or 3 ropes taking off, and you know he'd never heard of breaking ropes, you know, ski ropes. You know, this thing had enough power to break ski ropes, and so being that his dad was, you know, a deep well turbine manufacturer, which is nothing more than a jet pump stuck in the ground, you know, uh, it just come about, you know, and I guess that was, you know, that was probably 6 or 7 years later that came about. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, walked into an empty building in
Yeah.
June of '76.
Wow. Now, were you an engineer or anything at that point,
Yeah,
or
I
how?
worked for an engineering company out of
Oh, okay.
Wichita Falls. Uh huh.
Mm-hmm. And then now was that Bruce Simmons, your buddy?
Yeah. Uh huh. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And then why did you decide that? Because I mean, Berkeley was it right then. So why did you guys? Did you just think they needed a competitor, or you could do it better? Or?
You know, I don't know. I can't say that I could remember exactly. You know, being young and dumb, we probably thought we could do it better. You know, and we come to find out throughout the years how smart the Berkeley guys were. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, a lot easier to say than it is to do sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. But you guys got to that point. I mean, and then at some point, the Dominator was it, man. You had to have the Dominator Bolt. You had to have all the Dominator stuff.
Yeah. Well, right now, you know, we pretty much dominate, so to speak. You know, if you don't have our bowl and our impeller, you know, you're pretty much, you know, you're not at the lead pack. I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, and I think one thing Dominator did that Berkeley didn't have is I think you were the first guys that come out with like a bigger impeller, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
How,
yeah. We
how'd
come
that
out.
happen?
Well, we had buddies in town that had Gale Banks turbocharged engines in their boat, and they were just spinning the A impellers to the moon. You know, and you know, with a turbo motor, you need to put a load on them to make them really work. So we developed a bigger impeller, and it would be like they would like drop 900 RPM and gain 11 miles an hour
Mm-hmm.
just by switching from an A Berkeley impeller to a double A Dominator impeller. So it was, and then at the time the A impeller was the biggest thing that Berkeley made. You know, so we would come out with a double A, and then when we started American Turbine, we come up with uh, like the A3 and the A4. We called them the 9 1/4 and the 9 1/2. So yeah, it takes. And now we have one called the High Helix, which is a different blade angle. But you need about at least 600 horsepower to really make that one start to work. But it'll absorb a lot. It'll absorb about 2,000 horsepower at 7,000 RPM.
Now, I didn't realize that the high helix, I thought that was just a different material. Is it a different material too, or just
No,
different blade
it's
design?
the same material we make all the impellers out of.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
It's just got a different helix on the blade.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit longer biting edge, so when you do that, you have to change the helix, to as it wraps around the impeller.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's more efficient, or it just loads it more?
Well, one and the same.
Okay.
It loads it more and it's more efficient. So, but like I say, it's such a big impeller that your average motor, you'd have to cut it way, 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 way down to get your standard 454 to even pull it. So it doesn't make any sense to spend the extra money for that high helix impeller, when really, like I said, you need a 600 plus horsepower to really make it work. And actually, even more than that, really, eight plus, 800 plus.
Mm-hmm. So on one of your aluminum impellers, where do you kind of put the horsepower? Like, what do you think where do you think a guy should step off of aluminum, go to a stainless?
Well, so we don't really put a horsepower on it. We put more of an RPM.
Okay.
I don't like them running over 5,000. I mean, you could do it, but for the general public out in the rough water, jumping wakes and stuff like that, that's what peels the blades out of.
Gotcha.
It's not just the RPM, but for your average person, they need to have a stainless if it's going to be like a ski boat that's jumping, or a semi hot rod boat that they run in the rough water where it loads and unloads. That's when it needs to have a stainless, or if it goes over 5,000.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then if a guy's just got 500 or 600 horsepower, but he's spinning it, he should have a stainless, but he wouldn't use a high helix. He just use a standard stainless. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. I see that I don't know if you go on the forums. I go on the forums all the time just to kind of see what guys are doing and hear what people are asking. And that's a big question. Yeah. Everybody's trying to decide whether they need to spend the money for a stainless or not. And I never really hear much talk about the high helix. And again, all the years I've sold them, I think I kind of quit selling parts when you came out with the high helix. I don't think I didn't really know what that was.
Well, if they're a smart boater, and they can probably push a aluminum pretty good, but sometimes smart and boating don't go along. But and also depends on how the boat's set up. If the boat's set up and not loading the pump very well, then the impeller's not going to last very long. Because it'll actually water hammer it to death, and it'll peel the blades out of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, gotcha. So durability is the biggest thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Not taking the abuse.
Right. Exactly.
Gotcha. So let me go back. So Dominator, did you guys sell Dominator, or did you go right from Dominator to American Turbine?
So we sold Dominator like in 87 or 88, I think, like that.
Okay.
And then we had employment contracts with the new company, and that didn't work out that well. So
does that ever?
Yeah, no, I don't think it ever does. But anyway, in 1989 we started American Turbine. So and American Turbine was basically started with a clean sheet of paper type thing. I mean, same.
I was going to ask that.
The same basic principles applied, but it was more like a nicer way of mounting it in the hull, and nicer as far as how the bowl and everything sealed up to the transom, just a nicer setup than what was available. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that had to be. I was going to ask that. So you kind of had 2 years, and you did this with Bruce too, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you guys kind of had 2 years to think about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And like what also happens is you sat there and watched your company go to hell because they didn't know what they were doing, right?
No, they didn't have a clue, and the other thing was they were going to move the company from where it was to over over to East Texas, and I wasn't wanting to move without some sort of a guarantee, and they weren't willing to give a guarantee, so we parted ways.
Which ended up being a good thing, right?
Oh yeah, it seems like it always works out the way it should.
Yeah. And at that point with American Turbine, where was Berkeley at that point? Was Berkeley still operating when you started American Turbine?
Berkeley was, oh man, what was that company in San Francisco that was a big insurance company that had actually bought Berkeley, and
oh, I didn't know that. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, bought it from the actual Berkeley Pump Company.
Okay.
It was an investor group type thing. And of course, you know how they are. They don't care about the product or anything else. They just care about swapping dollars. And then the Hardin Marine bought them, and I'm not real sure. I think probably it was bad management, at Hardin, because Hardin Marine was a pretty good company early on. They sold lots of engines and did lots of good things, but something happened and it just kind of opened the door for us, And we had made a deal with Gale Banks. He was our distributor for several years out there in California, so it just worked out,
Yeah. The jet industry and jet boats, from the time you started till, I don't know, early 2000s, mid 2000s. I mean, you had some volatile times, man. That's pretty amazing that you've made it through those ups and downs.
Oh yeah. There's some pretty bleak times during that, when the economy crashed, because when the economy crashed, boating and RVs are the first to go. They're the first to go and the last to come back. Fortunately, we've created a really nice parts business. We sell parts all over the world. And the thing about it is we sell parts for jet drives that are 30 and 40 years old. And they're still working. So I know a lot of the marinas and such, if you've got an outboard that was built in the 90s, you're out of luck, because they won't work.
Right.
If they can't hook a computer up to them, they don't want to work on them.
Yeah.
And jet boats, if every backyard mechanic can work on a jet boat, just about, especially the older ones. The newer ones are a little more sophisticated with all the fuel injection and all that stuff. You have to have a computer to diagnose them, but the old ones, if you have a set of points and a carb kit, you're pretty well fixed up on one of those.
I see a lot now. There's a lot of newer guys that are doing jet boats, and they can put, the cool thing with LS swaps, I mean, you can put anything in a jet boat, right? They don't have to go buy something from Mercury for 10 times more than they should. And
nope, they go to the wrecking yard and get a LS, and go to Amazon and get a LS turbo kit, and have 800 horsepower, and basically their biggest expense is going to be getting the exhaust and the bell housing and stuff like that, hook it to the jet, and have a pretty fast boat with a lot of power. Yeah.
I could tell you talk to a few of those guys, huh?
Oh yeah. I talk to them all the time. Yeah. It's amazing how much power they make. Amazing. We used to build 12.5 to 1, 454s and 468s and all that, and they got a 376 cubic inch motor, or 364, whatever they are, and making double the power we ever made.
Yeah, and get way better gas mileage and the idle and all the good stuff.
Yeah, and they got their motor at a wrecking yard and didn't even pull the heads off of it.
Right. No, it's pretty cool. It's good. I'm glad they've kind of made their way into the marine industry more, because it's a great power option, and the younger guys understand them. They're not afraid of the fuel injection.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, not me. I just take it to the shop. I don't even think about it.
Yeah. No, most guys our age, that's exactly what they do.
Yeah. I can work on a carburetor, but I couldn't tell you anything about a fuel injector.
Yeah. It's really funny. I have a great story about that. I was selling advertising, and I used to call on a guy down in San Diego called Turnkey Engines. I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah, I know who they are.
But all they did was build turnkey LSs, and they were kind of one of the first guys doing it, crate engines.
Yeah.
And I was talking to one of the owners who was the engine builder one time, and he goes, "I wouldn't even know how to set the idle on a carburetor." It was so funny. This guy's a tuner,
Yeah, exactly. Something so basic,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
No, it's pretty cool. I mean, do you ever like just think about where you've come from perception image wise too? I mean, in the early days, jets were just a laughing stock, right?
Oh, yeah.
Gas mileage and everything.
Yeah. Well, they always wanted, compare a 454 jet to a 350 stern drive. Well, it's not the drive that burns the fuel; it's the engine. So back when we first started American Turbine, we were working with Four Winds at the time, which is I think they're still in business. But Four Winds actually sent us. It was an 18-foot boat with a stern drive and a 302 Ford. And we took the stern drive out and put our jet drive in it, and so we used the same engine. The same hull, and we got like 20-something% better fuel economy than the stern drive did. And we were shy about 2 miles an hour on the top speed, but the fuel economy at cruise was pretty remarkable. Remarkable enough that they didn't believe us when we told them. So they sent us their test equipment, and we tested it and said, well, the results are still the same. And they still didn't believe us. So they sent their engineers down and tested it, and the engineers verified it, and the ownership didn't believe it. So they took the boat back to, I think it was in Michigan, and tested it there, and everything we had told them was true. And so we developed a jet drive for them after we were bought out and moved up here, and they used them for quite a few years, or at least 2 years before the economy again hit the skids, and kind of run that deal. But we sold a lot of them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the other thing, right, when jet drives first came about, and for probably a long time, is they were taking a boat that was built for a V drive or something else and just sticking a jet in it, right? So once they started really working the bottoms and making the hardware fit, that's when things really changed.
Yeah. So all the boats that they were putting jets in were boats that would normally have had a stern drive in them, and they purposely hooked the bottom of the boat to get the boat to plane out faster with the stern drive. Well, in a jet, you don't want that because it just drives the nose in and scrubs off all the speed.
And you made a comment that you said when you moved up there. So at some point, you guys sold American Turbine.
Right. So we sold American Turbine in 1993, and so when that happened, then I got out of the ownership role and become the general manager. So and then we got bought out by Travis Powder and the Foundry, which is one of the biggest, or probably the biggest foundry in the Pacific Northwest. We moved up here, and at the time there was Redline Engines, so it was kind of a co-op between Red Light Engines and Travis Pattern and American Turbine all working together, and that went along for about 2 years, and then the owner of Travis Pattern, Travis Garsky, bought the two other guys out, and so he becomes the sole owner at that point, and at that point I become the general manager. So I found it a lot easier to be able to make money than it is to make a living. You know, it's hard to make it's just hard to make a living and make money. Because I don't know what it is, but you do things differently. When there's capital there, and you're not going to have to worry about if you spend too much on this particular R&D project, then you're going to be short on payroll. When you have all the capital you need, you can do some pretty nice things, and that's what it takes to make money.
Mm-hmm. That making payroll stress, it has to be unbelievable for an owner. I think one that cares, right?
I think the term is you're too busy trying to make a living to make any money.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's the saying I was trying to come up with. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But it's pretty true. So, and gosh, I don't know. So we moved up here with. We had one jet drive that we were building.
Oh, really? That's it? Really?
One jet drive, yeah. One model. And now we have like 7 models. So we have pretty much if it floats, we got a jet for it,
Yeah, that's crazy. So
we got our big jet, it's good for up to 26, 27 feet, 8,500 pounds, it'll push a lot of weight.
Wow.
And they coupled it to the LT4, which is about a 650 horsepower supercharged. The engine used to put in the Corvette, the LT4, yeah.
Well, then there's the new LT4 too, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the LT4, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess the fact that you're still there 30 years later, I mean, how happy were you that you were bought out by a foundry?
Oh, yeah, that worked out really good, because anything we needed, was, just a phone call away, basically. Mm-hmm. And actually, because of us, that kind of put them in the CNC machine shop business, because when we moved up here, at one time we were their biggest aluminum casting customer. And so when we first moved up here, we were jobbing all the machine work out, the stuff that we didn't do. And then, because we were doing most all of it back in Texas, all the machine work. And then when we moved up here, we started, jobbing it out, to different companies around. And my boss decided that he didn't like spending all that much money, so he bought a CNC lathe and stuff like that. And so how it turned out is they celebrated the foundry celebrated their 100th year in business last summer, and when they did that, they also opened up their own CNC shop, because they have like 24 CNC machines. They got like I think there's 18 machining centers and 6 turning centers, and of course they do all kinds of parts, but it all started because of us, so they do it all, and the good thing is, so if a part gets scrapped, they don't sweat it too much. They just go back, throw it in the furnace,
melt it,
and pour it again. So yeah. It works out good. And the thing is, we have a lot of control over our quality. Because if it's not up to snuff, we just send it back, and they melt it down and try it again.
And how nice with the machine shop. So basically that takes that production step off you too, right?
Yeah.
So you get a done part.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, we didn't start making money till we started letting other people do the, job out this stuff, because, I was pretty hard headed and thought that nobody could do that stuff as well as I could, and the fact of the matter is they can. What all American Turbines started doing was basically the R&D and the assembly and stuff like that was when we started making money, and we've made money for the past 28 years, so you can't beat that.
So it took getting to American Turbine and seeing that happen to learn that lesson after all these years?
Yeah, exactly. Figuring out that, well, see, when you try to do it all yourself, and actually, jet drives are pretty low production. There's not big numbers there, and you try to, do it with CNC machines. When you buy CNC machines, you need to figure on them working 16 hours a day. You can't just have a CNC run 8 hours a day or 2 or 3 days a week. They cost too much. They gotta be productive. So when he bought the machines, he started doing other people's work, because other people like the idea that, well, I'll get it cast there, I'll get it machined there, it's a one-stop shop. So that's how it worked out. And and like I say, and the other thing is your personnel, because you have to bring a bunch of people in the spring and summer, and then sales go away in the winter or in the fall. And you have to let them go, and you've got to retrain them again. It's just a vicious cycle, Whereas, if you've got people set up and all they do is machine parts all day long, and, it just works out a whole lot better.
Mm-hmm. And then it was probably another big advantage for you when you're on R&D. And I mean, obviously, I'm sure some of the burden of the tooling costs came over to you, but still, it was probably way easier than if you had to lay the money out for that.
I mean, we have a full machine shop. We have a CNC lathe, that we do impellers, because I won't let anybody do the impellers, because that's the most important part, right? So nobody does the impellers but us. We do all the machine work on them. We do all the hand work that has to be done on them. So I won't trust that out to anybody, because subtle little things that you don't think make a difference makes the difference. Mm-hmm. So we won't let anybody do that. So
yeah. So you still do some handwork on the impellers though, huh?
Oh, every one of them.
Really?
Yeah, every one of them. Yep. Every one of them has handwork done on them.
Just some stuff you can't teach a CNC machine how to do, huh?
Well, no, not really. You just, it'd be a compromise. I mean, you'd have to give up something, and there's no reason to do that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. It's a little different than the last time you got bought out, right? I mean, you're still there after over 30 years. I mean, either they're really good or you figured something out, or maybe both, right?
It was 30. It's been 31 years in last March. So
nice.
Yeah. So
good for you. Got any ideas of retiring?
As long as I stay on the top side of the grass, I'll probably be going to work. Yeah. I got nothing better to do.
Yeah. Well, you must enjoy it.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind a day off every now and then, but I still, after 2 or 3 days, I'm, a long weekend or something like that, like the 4th of July, I was ready to get back to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Do you boat anymore? Or
don't boat anymore.
You play with?
No. In fact, I gave my boat to my youngest son and grandson. They're over in Montana. Oh, quick story on that. So my boat's a 20-foot welded aluminum boat. It's got a top on it and all that kind of stuff. And I put that little 4-cylinder in there, the little 2.3.
Oh, you did?
EcoBoost.
You got a hold of one? Okay.
Yeah, runs right at 50 miles an hour, which is remarkable for any welded aluminum boat to run 50 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. So it run 50 miles an hour, and and my son took it over to Montana, and most of Montana is above 3,000 feet. And the particular lake that he took it to was at 4,200 feet. And he called me up and he says, "Dad, you don't believe that?" He said, "That boat run almost 50 miles an hour." So it made as much power at 4,200 feet as it does 750 feet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because Inmar does their engine power management kind of a unique way. They are torque limited, so they'll let the engine make up to a certain torque. And in this case, it's 350 foot-pounds of torque. You know, whether it takes 20 pounds of boost or 24 pounds of boost or 25 pounds of boost. So they're torque limited. So when it goes over to Montana, you know, it's at 4,200 feet, so it just makes more boost till it gets to 350 foot-pounds of torque.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
But that's that new. I mean, computers, right?
Yeah. That's a great little engine.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great seeing them mate, you know, the late model technology to make something really good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you know, like I said, it's like 200 pounds lighter than a 350. So you get the weight out of the stern of a boat, man, they'll pop up on plane in just a little bit.
And I didn't ask you when we were talking about it earlier, but what's the prognosis look on that? You think they're going to be able to move a lot of those for you guys? That engine package?
Oh yeah. I think so. Yeah, there's I can't say the name of the company now, but there's a company that's in Missouri that builds a John boat style boat, you know, and they're working with those right now. So once those get out, and I think they'll sell a ton of them.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, you don't have to. I don't know. You don't have to answer if you want, or play favorites. But you know, you've been around for a long time. You've been doing business with a lot of guys in this country. Who's some of the guys? If a guy's looking for parts, like who are some good reputable guys that take care of people?
Oh, like ARS Marine is good. GS Marine is good. Kind of drawing a blank right at the moment.
We don't want to forget anybody.
Yeah.
High Tech. I think High Tech Performance is the guy that's out there.
High Tech Performance. Yeah. They're doing they do a good parts business, and CP Performance. You know, you know, at one time CP Performance was our competitor. You know, and I don't usually have any problem selling parts to our competitors.
Well, what's that tell you when they own a pump company but they buy stuff from you?
That they figured out, like I did, that, you know, it's all about the sales and not about the personalities, you know, because, you know, I just know that if I wanted a part from CP and they wouldn't sell it to me, I'd figure out a way to get it or make it. So why should I turn down the business?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you've got a lot of stuff that the Berkeley line doesn't have. Just not going to ever have.
Yeah. Since the company sold, you know, there's a lot of things that, like, they don't even build any of their steering parts anymore. You can't get a Berkeley reverse bucket or a Berkeley nozzle that don't exist. Not a new one anyway.
But you have all that though, right? You have replacements for all that stuff, right?
We have replacements for all that stuff.
Now, do you still build a Dominator, don't you? Dominator pump?
Oh yeah, Dominator. We made Dominator our performance pump.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. What's the distinguishing factor with that? Okay.
Yeah. So we you know, since everybody was making so much power, they were breaking suction housings. So we went in and I collaborated with you know, Jack McClure and Greg at GS on where we needed to focus our attention as far as strengthening it up and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we made the Dominator the performance pump.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got, it's got a lot more beef in the critical areas, and we, you know, if we got a lot of power, you know, uh, like blown fuel jet power, uh, we can do the HIP process on there, which is the HIP process is hot isostatic pressing, where they take they put the casting in a pressure vessel and heat it to its elastic state, and then pump it inert gas in at about, I think it's about 15,000 psi. And what that does is that collapses any porosity that's in the casting, and it makes it almost as strong as billet.
Really?
So, yeah,
I've never heard of that. Wow.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes it really, really strong. So.
And you said that was called HIP?
Yeah, HIP. Yeah, hot isostatic pressing.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, it's been around around a long time, but not in the jet drive industry.
Now, is that something like you actually stock those parts, or is it one-off type stuff? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, we have to send them over. We have to send those parts up to Andover, Massachusetts, to get that process done.
Mm-hmm. And you do it? Do you do just suctions, or do you do bowls too?
We do bowls, and we have done some impellers too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it just makes them, because those little microscopic voids in there are where cracks generate.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can, collapse all of those, then you have a lot stronger part.
Wow, interesting. I didn't know that. It's cool. So Ronnie, you've been doing this a long time. You've done a lot of really good stuff. You've made a lot of really good decisions. Is there like a really bad decision you made that you can remember, and how'd you get out of that?
So, the bad decision I made was sticking with a plastic wear ring. I should have gone with a stainless or a bronze wear ring early on, because
that's when we're talking about when you had Dominator, right?
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if I had done that, I would have owned the Pacific Northwest many decades before. I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I was too hard-headed and didn't listen to the people up here. Because most rivers are full of sand. And the fact that about 20 hours on one of those plastic wear rings are all they're going to last. And they were pushing bigger, heavier boats. We were pushing little lightweight, 1,600-pound TX-19s, and they were pushing, twice that,
mm-hmm.
with less power. Mm-hmm. So if we'd have made that move, we'd have scored a big home run, I think.
Mm. So you just thought, hey, this has worked for us for all these years down here. It works great. I don't know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
you just didn't take into account all that stuff.
I should have made a trip up here. That's what I should have done, and visited with the people, and to see how they're actually, how the boats and pumps are actually being used, and then I would have known.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And I could tell that was a big mistake because you said it really fast. It was right on the tip of your tongue.
Yeah, it was.
What do you think was the most like the biggest technological thing? What technology through the years do you think made the biggest advantage as far as a jet pump?
Nothing, not really anything too much for the performance other than the high helix impeller. And there were some bowl designs. We had about 5 or 6 different bowl generations that made a difference. The biggest thing that made the biggest difference is in reliability, is going away from that double row 3307 bearing and putting the bearing in there and getting rid of the packing, because packing always leaks, and water is probably about 99% of the reason bearings fail is they get water in them. And going back to the mechanical seal like the old Jacuzzi YJ used.
Yeah, that's what you use in everything now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we still do the Dominator with the packing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't change that.
Okay, but everything else is
yeah, because once you get to like around 100 miles an hour or so, it becomes harder for those mechanical seals to seal, because especially when they come off the power, they charge the suction with it might spike to 150 to 160 psi, and it would blow past that mechanical seal, and it probably blows past the packing too, but it tolerates it better than the mechanical seal does.
Gotcha. Now, do you have those mechanical seal kits where you could retro an old Berkeley?
No, huh?
No. Okay.
No.
So it's got to be.
We worked on that for a long time. It never really. It was too hard and too expensive.
Mm-hmm. And as far as the double roller bearing, you are using it was a tapered bearing back there now. Is that what you do?
It's the double roll bearing. It's a 3307.
Okay.
So what we went to was a single roll bearing, but what it does is that the inner and outer race contact the ball better, so you got more contact, and that even though it's a single roll bearing, it'll take like 35% more load. So and we come up with a better way to seal it, so that the conventional way was pretty easy for water to go between the splines on the coupler to the shaft and get water in the bearing. And and the other thing is, when you're out running your boat, that generates heat in there. And then if you do have any water in your bilge, it just creates a vacuum and it just sucks the water right in there. So.
Yeah. And can you retrofit old pumps with that bearing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We make them.
Okay. That's good to know. What do you call that? Anything special, or?
We just call it the high performance bearing kit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all you do is work. You don't boat anymore.
No.
What is there anything else? I mean, tell us something about you that people don't know to be surprised to hear.
I don't know if they'd be surprised. I just work, I'm going to be 76 in November, so after a day's work, there's not a whole lot of playing. I get in my recliner, and I'm lucky if I wake up in time to go to bed before 3:00.
Yeah, that's understandable, man. You look great for 76, man. That's pretty cool.
I feel pretty good. Although I did, back in December, I got bit by a spider. It almost took me out.
No way, really?
Yeah. Put me in the hospital for 7 days and rehab for another 100 days.
No way.
From a spider bite. So, call it working.
Yeah. You must have some badass spiders up there, man.
Yeah. It's either a black widow or a brown recluse, probably. I don't know for sure, but
wow.
I have them bug people come every 3 months now.
Yeah, you got some newfound respect for spiders, huh?
I do. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, you know what, and good on you. I mean, it's a great business to work in, right? Great industry. You get to talk boats every day, and
yeah. There's it's fun. It's fun. You get to talk with the guys that use their boat for work. You get to take them, the guys that use them for pleasure, and so you get both worlds. But it's almost like the urgency is more if a guy's using his boat for pleasure and his vacation's coming up than the guy that makes a living with it.
Yeah.
So I learned a while back you don't want to mess with a guy's vacation.
That's a great point.
You need to get those parts out and get him on his vacation.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's kind of nothing like the insanity of a guy that's on the launch ramp and the pump's making noise with the steering cable stuck, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Awesome. Well, is there anything we didn't talk about? Anything else you want to mention, or?
Man, I can't think of anything.
Okay. Glad people get a chance to know you. You're kind of a real quiet behind the scenes guy. But I've known you a long time. You've always just been a steady guy and always consistent and pleasure to work with. So it's been fun talking to you.
Well, it's been it's been a pleasure here too. So so anybody that needs any parts, will call us up, because I got great people that work for me and work with me, and trying to teach them everything. So, and they've taught me some things. So I think we can supply all your jet needs for sure.
Yeah, that's good. You obviously you like the new technology and you you respect it. So that's good. And I'm going to call out your one guy. How long has Shad been there?
Shad has been there. He started in '99, so about 25 years.
Wow.
And Dustin has been there 28 years. And Chuck does all the impellers. He's been there probably about 20 years on and off, because he had a spell there where he didn't work for us. He went to other things, but he came back, and I think he's been back about 10 years now. So
cool.
We have a couple of new guys that we got to. Or actually, I got to thinking. I said, well, I'm 70 something years old, and my young guys are right at 50, and I know how long it takes to learn this. I said, we need to get somebody hired that these guys, my guys can teach, because because they're going to be retiring in 15 or 16 years or whatever. We got to have somebody that that knows about jets. So we've hired some people that we're training, that hopefully they'll take over the ranks when I'm gone, and when the other guys decide to retire and all that stuff. So
yeah, it's funny when you wake up and your young guys are 50, right?
Well, that, like I said, that spider bite was kind of a wake up call, thinking, I was feeling real good one day and real sick the next. I haven't done any real good planning for the future of American Turbine.
Yeah, that's quite the wake up call.
Yeah, for sure.
So, well, hey man, I appreciate the time.
Yeah, you bet.
I mean, good job on the technology, man. We when we started talking about it, you said I'm gonna have to go shopping and get some stuff, and you got the stuff. So it worked great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, all right. Thanks, man. And AmericanTurbine.com, right?
Yep. AmericanTurbine.com.
Yeah. There you go. That's where to go. And, if not, if you got a favorite dealer, that sells the stuff, just request American Turbine stuff when you go to that guy and make sure you get the best. So, all righty, Ron. Thanks again. You take care of yourself. Stay away from the spiders.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, I really appreciate it. Very cool.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Bye. You bet.
See you, man.
Thank you for listening to Powerboat Talk. If you like what you've heard, please head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. For more Powerboat Talk, follow us on Facebook or Instagram, or visit our website at powerboattalk.com.